Hello once again. This is the second episode in my Doctor Who Series 11 review series. This time we're talking about the Ghost Monument. Now this episode I really enjoyed, probably more than the first episode. While not as tight of a plot, and the monsters are genuinely silly. They only really work in a Doctor Who-like setting. This episode still... There was something about it that really spoke to me as a writer and wannabe TV, fiction, movie critic thing person, and that was probably due to the character work, which I'll talk about later. But just to briefly touch on the plot, a non-spoilery plot, the Doctor and gang get rescued from their predicament of getting transported to the middle of space, and now they're on this planet where there's an intergalactic race of doom, basically, and the winner gets a lot of money, and the galaxy at the moment, or the universe right now, sucks right now for some reason, and the gang, the TARDIS gang, are lumped in with it. And there's your adventure. So yeah, non-spoiler review, I liked it. If you haven't seen the episode, go away now, because I'm about to spoil about to spoil the crap out of it. And truth be told, there isn't really that much to spoil. The two side characters, guest stars, actually three, they all have a surprising amount of depth to them. And I think a lot of that's helped by the new runtime. I believe these episodes, this series and ongoing, are about 10 minutes longer, which I think really helps the pacing overall and gives you a better sense of the world that you happen to be in for that week. So, anyways, the TARDIS gang, all four of them, two of them, there are two pairs, the Doctor and Yaz, and Ryan and Graham, and they're rescued by two different ships that are both the last ships competing in this intergalactic race. I forget the names of the captains of these ships because they're alien and I'm terrible. But there's a guy piloting the one with the two women on it, and a woman pilot piloting the one that the two men are on. So I suppose nice symmetry there if you care for that sort of thing. Anyways, they crash, and it's basically explained to them that this is the last stop on this race of doom that's for a lot of money. We're never really told how much, but you kind of get the idea. And these two people that are the last two people to be in this race are in it for very different reasons, and you get a very distinct picture, you get a very clear picture of their motivations, and they're not, I try not to bash Moffat too much because I know it's popular, but they're characters that I don't think would have shown up in the Moffat era. There would have been one sentence explaining, this is me, this is my character, and this is me, this is my character, and I disagree with you, and conflict. Except it would have been really shallow. And I hate to say it like that, and there are exceptions to this, don't mistake me, but by and large it would have been. But we get a lot of information, a lot of decent information as to what drives these characters. Why are they on this race? And it isn't even complex motivation. It's just there, and there's depth given to it. The woman wants to protect her family, get them out of the dangerous and devastated situation that they're in, their planet being ravaged by the Stenza, which I thought was an interesting carryover from the last episode. I wonder if there's going to be a semi-connecting arc over the season or over the next couple of seasons, because Chris Chibnall did say he had a 5-year plan about that alien. It would be interesting to see a new alpha race aside from the Daleks and the Cybermen. And insert your favorite alien here, basically, that is a threat. And if it's the Stenza, we don't know too much about them, but great. Okay. So we get her backstory. And we get the guy's backstory, which is very different. He's just in this for basically the hedonistic pleasure. I don't want to rely on anyone. You can't trust anyone. If I get all this money, I will never need to rely on anyone to do anything for me ever again. And that's an interesting perspective. I disagree with it personally, but I like seeing those types of characters, just because that there's a nihilism and self-loathing nature of existence-ness to it that it's interesting to see what keeps those characters going. And seeing those two interact as well was great. Seeing all the characters interact was great. There's more on Graham, between Graham and Ryan. Not a lot with Yaz. Yaz has kind of been the, I suppose, the character that's pulling their weight the least. There's four. Pulling their weight the least, though that does improve later. But yeah, there's still great characterization and interaction between Graham and Ryan. Again, this show's pace really helps out with that. And then, again, the Doctor really didn't... Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor hasn't pulled me yet. By episode 3, Rosa, she has. But by this one, she's still kind of there. She's the Doctor, but she hasn't cemented me as this is the 13th Doctor. She's just still the Doctor, which, if that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry, but that's how it is to me. She gives some great speeches. You know, we hear her take on non-violence again, in a rather hilarious, if somewhat cringeworthy scene by Ryan attempting to take out the killer robots, which are a nice addition to this episode. But yeah, that's all there. Great characterization moments, great robot design, I should say, in specific. The rag monsters are kind of eye-rolling, but they do have a certain creep factor that I like. The idea that the entire planet was a research station or area that was controlled by the Stenza and eventually things went to hell is an interesting aspect to them. It's kind of it makes sense that they wouldn't have the normal ethical constraints to science that someone like humans would, so that's all very well and good, if a little bit cursory. There's one thing, only one, that concerned me about this episode, and that was that there was the slightest hint of a mystery box. At one point, this is after the woman and man, these pilots, make their way to the end of the race together, and they basically threaten the game master with, like, if you don't let both of us tie and share the money, we're gonna come after you. And he finally decides, okay, I'll let you both win, but he doesn't take the Doctor or her friends. So they leave, and they're all being surrounded by these rags, and the Doctor... they speak to the Doctor, and that's weird that they speak at all, but they speak to the Doctor, and they say a bunch of things. It's like, oh, we know this about your past, and you're the timeless child, and stuff like that. Like, very stuff that when you write, it's like, I want this to sound impressive, but it just kind of sounds like you're just throwing words on a page. And I worry that would be a through line, a mystery box sort of arc. Now, again, I'm not incredibly familiar with Chris Chibnall, so this could pay off wonderfully. I'm just kind of fatigued from it, from the Moffat era, basically. But that was really my only concern. Overall, this is a great character episode. There's great character interactions. The action, when there is action, is done all right. It's shot pretty. The production design, I didn't mention this in the last episode, has virtually skyrocketed. It's on the level. It's probably right below Game of Thrones in terms of just looking pretty and effects and sound design and such and such and such and such. Last thing, I suppose I'll talk about the end of the episode. The TARDIS comes. You find out earlier in the episode that it's the Ghost Monument. The TARDIS finally shows up, and we get a glimpse inside, and I think it's all right. The design will probably grow on me. It feels like it's not lit bright enough. That could just be how they decided to shoot it for that episode, like they're going to reveal more of the set later on. I don't know. But next episode we'll be talking about is Rosa. We're going to meet Rosa Parks. and we'll discuss why I think that episode is really good, but ultimately falls short. So, see you guys later.